years ago of CIA Connect, Mr. Unikrishnan, my good friend, pioneer in the IT services, through Lakshmi Narayanan, many distinguished guests I see in the audience here, the many speakers who are to enlighten you through the course of the day, and all of you ladies and gentlemen who have come here to be part of this two-day event. Good morning, welcome. Thank you for having me be a part of this event with you today. I'm particularly happy to be here because I think perhaps the first kind of conference I came to after our government took office was probably the Connect conference back, I don't know, early 22 or something like that, after COVID. I was finance minister then, I wasn't IT minister, but I suppose given my REC and IT and MIT backgrounds, they thought I might be a good fit for an IT-related conference. So I came here. It was actually an eye-opening experience for me because I saw in that conference, they had a stall full of, an exhibit hall full of stalls and many of the startups and innovations that were being done here. And it sparked an idea in me that the government of Tamil Nadu should actually find a mutually beneficial fit with these companies. So we started this notion back then called Sell to Government Day, where startups were invited to pitch to the government their products and services and technologies that could help the government improve its performance or reach its goals. And in order to do that, as finance minister, I brought an amendment to the tender transparency legislation with the CM's consent and support, that we would give exemptions to startups as long as the procurement was under 50 lakhs and it was a new company. We would give them exemptions from the tender process because they were innovative by definition. So there wasn't any other bidders to do that work. And that has been helpful to us in many ways in fields like property tax assessment in the local bodies, in agriculture, in cloud kitchens, IoT, things like that. So that's the history I have, and so I'm very happy to be here. I'm also happy to say that both in my old role and in my new role, I've now attended Connect conferences in multiple cities, multiple years, probably Chennai a few years, Coimbatore, Madurai, other places. I'm scheduled, I think, in Salem next month. And every time I learn something new. I was in Madurai about 6 weeks ago, and we had a conference where a lot of the startups and the innovative companies were in the defense and aerospace field, and I didn't know that. I didn't know that such companies existed in Madurai. The Director General of the DRDO was there, Dr. Kaushik, and she had suggested they all kind of focus on that theme. And I walked around and saw hardware with embedded software that was actually being procured by the Defense Department from Madurai for missile guidance, for jamming, for anti-jamming and things like that, which was amazing to me. So I think Connect performs a very crucial role in exposing a lot of people to what is there and bridging, as Mr. Mahalingam said, the government and industry, and to some extent academia, but I'll talk about that a bit later. So in that sense, I would commend CII first for this initiative, the vision of Mr. Mahalingam, but continuing for many years, and each year picking the right theme and finding audience like you, of senior executives and professionals who can benefit from the kinds of speakers they're able to attract. So I congratulate them on their initiatives. As far as Tamil Nadu is concerned, many people have already touched on it. We have some great strengths, core of it being our talent. I would say as a fourth generation member of the social justice movement that it has been because of inclusion. It has been because of equitable access. It has been because of education for all being legislated as far back as 1921. And that's why Tamil Nadu today produces about 20% of the country's tech talent across all levels of education, from ITI through Polytechnic through engineering, even though we're less than 6% of the population of this country. And I think Thank you. We back that up because of our economic policies by the Government of India's report, for example, as a data point showing that 42% of all women working in the formal manufacturing sector are working in Tamil Nadu. So you have to have both. You have to have inclusion and you have to have the economic framework that attracts investment and brings capital to this place. We have also done relatively well because we have decent infrastructure. We're the most urbanized state in the country. That brings some advantages, some disadvantages. We have great connectivity from the undersea cables that largely come into Chennai, only next to Bombay, around the world. Also in terms of the number of international airports and our shipping for manufactured goods through multiple large ports. And then, of course, what I see as the hidden strength of Tamil Nadu, which is the brilliant Tamil diaspora that is in senior positions across all major companies all over the world in all fields, and therefore we benefit a lot from their support. A lot of statistics and a lot of initiatives have already been covered, so I don't want to repeat that. I will just say that our focus in the last 3.5+ years of our government has been on maybe 7 or 8 areas in no particular order. First, on skilling or finishing or bridging the talent of our enormous graduating classes and young people into the relevant economic activities of the day. So we do that in many ways, through Non-Mudalvan, through Skill Development Corporation, through in my department academy called ICT Academy that was led for many years by Thiru Lakshminarayanan. Best in the country, has offices in 9 or 10 states, trains thousands and thousands of faculty and tens of thousands of students across 1,750 academic institution partners. We have also set up a lot of policies for R&D. We're in the process for deep tech. Responsible AI usage was set up in the prior government. We've updated that. We have an artificial intelligence mission. We have many incentive policies and hope to attract people. The Chief Minister himself has made trips overseas to try and attract companies. And though it's hard to draw the line between what is truly manufacturing and what is IT these days, because IT is embedded in everything, I would say that we are still distinguished in our relative skills in IT just because of this talent and because even the large employers like the Cognizants and the TCSs have significant proportions of their workforce in Tamil Nadu. And I was making this observation in multiple places, I'll make it again here. There's no other part of this country where the workforce is predominantly local. Right? In Tamil Nadu, almost every big IT company has probably 80+% local workforce. That brings some stability, reduces attrition. It also keeps continuity. Not Bangalore, not Hyderabad, not Delhi, not Pune. Nobody can say that. So we have those things going for us, and so we focus on enhancing that. We are on the first stages of rolling out our ThanthiTV project. We have invited local last mile partners for about 100 blocks, about 800 villages. We hope to have that up and running soon. When it's done, as Mr. Ram said, Srivats Ram said, we will have all 12,600 villages or so connected with a 1 gig pipe, and so we'll have equitable internet access for education and for work from home to every part of the state. We have a lot of support programs for startups. We have a new initiative called Startup TN in the MSME sector, IT&T in my department. We already had a Tamil Nadu Innovation and Enterprise Institute that we are beefing up again. We put a lot more effort into emerging areas like AVGC. We're about to release an incentive policy for AVGC. We also have enough green energy and are focused more on generating even more energy, because a lot of these data centers that we are attracting in a big way, given our cable landing position and our energy situation, a lot of them have commitments to be carbon neutral And so getting them green energy from within the state through wheeling is a big plus to draw them in. I would say, in addition to all these things, our ambition broadly is to improve the support and facilitation for companies that are already here, as well as to address the big complaint that everybody makes about Tamil Nadu, which is that we don't market ourselves enough. We're actually huge in this sector. We have hundreds and hundreds of thousands of employees working in the sector in many companies that have thousands of employees. We don't even list them, we don't highlight them, we don't promote this as an example to attract other people. And so these are my areas of focus in particular, is to get much better understanding of the scope and scale of the sector in Tamil Nadu, because we have it big in Chennai and Coimbatore and Madurai and Salem and Tirunelveli and Trichy and everywhere else, and then to market it much more actively. No other state, nowhere in this country has that many cities where there's big tech activity, and we need to highlight that, especially as the drive to de-risk and go to second-tier cities is increasing. Moving on to the topic of this connect, which is AI. I'm old enough in this sector, going back to my student days, to see this more as movement along a continuum rather than a digital kind of on-off switch. It's not as if AI was suddenly invented with ChatGPT becoming available. And in that sense, I would say over the decades and over multiple phases or multiple comings of AI, the thing that makes this inflection point or this kind of step change unique is that we have now reached the point of almost infinite data generation, almost infinite data storage, very high levels of computing power, and computing power on demand. That is, that you don't have to invest $100 million to get access to $100 million of computing power through the cloud for brief periods of time. And so we have made it much more accessible to do the kinds of things that computers were always going to be much better than human beings at doing, provided they were given enough data and provided they were given enough training. So in that sense, I would say certainly it's at least a step change, maybe an inflection point, because we have now gotten to that phase where the marginal cost of access or the marginal cost of additional information to train algorithms or to train the machines is actually come down a lot. Now, of course, there's a whole lot of issues about morality of use. Even something like ChatGPT, question arises, do they actually have rights to use all the information available on the internet for their one engine? And are they really non-profit? And if so, who decided that they should be allowed universal access? So these are issues that will have to be solved by regulation. But even within that, I'd like to make the distinction. I was just listening to our MC's ChatGPT generated answer to TN and AI and things like that. And I would say, to me, that's the equivalent of what a mediocre speechwriter would do. That's the quality of it, right? It came from the machine. It's not a reflection on her. I'm just saying that's the level of ChatGPT. It's not particularly good. It can string a bunch of words together. Sometimes it makes sense. Sometimes it doesn't make sense. I'll give you the two extremes. If this is mediocre, I can give you like complete failure, and I can give you very good success. My son is a final year student in school, and he wanted to make some graphs with some particular error bars and having variations in the scale of the error bars based on the data and all that. Now, in my time, I would have spent hours on Excel, and I would have had to figure out how to be an Excel specialist, which I happen to be because I used to be a trader back on Wall Street, and we used to use a lot of spreadsheets. But it would take me lots of hours to develop the skill and then a few hours to do the work. And then he is able to get ChatGPT to do the plotting, meaning he has the data, he just wants it displayed in a particular way, and if he writes the prompts the right way, he gets the product done in like 20 minutes. That would take me like 2 hours of work. So there's a real application of AI. The reverse of that, I'll say, is because there's this old adage in databases about garbage in, garbage out. if ChatGPT goes and searches universally for anything and everything, I have seen, and I don't want to name the institution, but an institution invited me to be a chief guest for something, and somebody made the mistake of asking ChatGPT to write up my biography. And it went and basically collated myself and my good friend Dr. Rajan. We both happen to be Tamil, we both happen to have the same last name, we both happen to be from MIT, and he happened to serve on the advisory council for my chief minister. So it created a biography that was part me and part him. And they didn't realize that it was two different people. I mean, the machine didn't realize, the person printing it didn't realize, and they printed it with the wrong biography, right? So I was making this anecdote to somebody, and they said, let's give it another chance. And they said, you know, used my reference as a person from Madurai, and then asked ChatGPT. And this time it confused me with my good friend, sadly departed, Karmuthu Kannan, who also had the name Thiagarajan, who was also from Madurai, who also had some connection with, we had enough variables in common that it couldn't distinguish we were two different people, you see. So that's the limit of this information, because it has universal data, it has no way of knowing what is good data and what is bad data, and what should be the prescribed set from which it should learn. And that's actually one of the very interesting aspects of AI in my perspective, because I was just yesterday in Coimbatore and opening a company, a good friend, new friend, but very good friend of mine, Mrs. Radha Basu, CEO of a company called iMerit, that has been doing work in AI for, you know, decades now actually, which is surprising. I think since 2012 or so, 12 years or so. And they do a lot of work for autonomous vehicles. So they're, you know, they are basically taking information and transcribing them or annotating them in healthcare, in automobile autonomy. And the amount of work that it takes to actually make the data, in their case they use LiDAR, and they use LiDAR reflection images and all that to train the machine into what does a fire truck look like, and what does a car look like, and what does a pedestrian look like, and what does a baby cart look like, and what does a pedestrian pushing a baby cart look like, and therefore what behavior can you predict if you're an autonomous vehicle. When you see them, will they stop for you, will they not stop for you? So the amount of stuff that you actually have to put into these machines is so high, and the amount of work that's going to be required to create all these data sets is so huge that I believe her when she says that for the foreseeable future there will be much more employment created out of AI than there will be completely erased. Meaning the AI is not good enough to completely remove human beings except from menial tasks like making charts. And it's not got enough information to do really important things like driving or surgery or you know, any actual, it can be a decision support, augmentative kind of technology for the foreseeable future. And I liked what one of the managers over there said. He said, listen, we have to train these machines. We have to feed them information like we feed food to a baby. And in his opinion, he said, if you think of education as going from kindergarten to bachelor's degree, right now the machines are at about elementary school, about 5th grade. We brought them from kindergarten to about 5th grade. We still got all these years of training left to do before the machines can really take over. And I think that's a good kind of general intelligence, replace human beings level framework is probably, you know, a decade plus away, much like in the automotive area, from the advent of automation and robots and ERP systems in the 1990s. It's probably taken 20, 25 years before it's really led to dramatic job reduction in the manufacturing and assembly floors. But that's broadly. I would say in particular in places that are most close to my heart, like how the government functions, there's huge potential. So as was cited earlier, this Tamil Nadu artificial intelligence mission is something very important to me. I've said in many places that our system of administration, not just in Tamil Nadu, not just in India, around the world, the scale of government and the kind of competence of government to perform its role for the citizens has dropped dramatically around the world. Could be a lack of investment, could be a lack of competition because all governments are monopolies, but essentially all over the world there's a failure of delivery that governments are experiencing. In some cases it manifests itself like in the US, where there's a whole movement that says drain the swamp, break down, or break out the government, and basically the resentment is built up to that level, that there's a kind of anti-government movement. But here in India, as I say many times, the average vacancy in government employment headcount to sanctioned posts is about 40% around the country, all states, the union. It's not likely that it will be corrected anytime soon. This is not a recent development. It's been going only one way because of various factors, including the financial costs of such employees. The net result is the governments are going to have to learn to do better with less people. And in my mind, that's actually a good thing, because the capabilities of technology we are only starting to use. I mean, I would say we've done a lot of things since we came to power 4 years or 3.5 years ago, including when I was finance minister, the starting of things like the single family database, starting of things like correlation of data across platforms, the automation of processes like identifying scholarship students for our new schemes. All these were initiated back, in 2021. And yet, I would say we're only scratching the surface, particularly with the kinds of technologies I have seen right here in Tamil Nadu, companies in Coimbatore, in Chennai, in Madurai, the kinds of things we can do in healthcare, in servicing of citizen petitions, in processing of applications for schemes, including voice-based processing. That is, that anybody who wants to say, do I qualify for the Kalaignar Magalai Urumai Thittam, should be able to make a call, speak in Tamil, give enough information, and get resolution, including if they are eligible, the deposit of their money into the bank account without having to interface with a human being. That's the potential of the technology, and that's the ambition we have for how we want to move the transformation. So in that sense, I would say this is a very timely conference. I'm very glad to note, I read through the list of sessions. I see there's a session with my good friend, Mr. Adithanar, a very senior former IAS officer, about the application of AI in administration and governance. This GovTech field is going to get bigger and bigger. The need for it is higher and higher. And so among the many sessions, I'm sure you all will learn a lot of new things and go away with a lot of new ideas. That's what such conferences are supposed to be about networking, about thinking outside your normal framework. I'm sure the curation has been spectacular. I will just leave you with one request, which is that on the 9th and 10th of January, we're going to run the 3rd edition of Imagine, which was a conference started many years ago, 2.5 years, 3 years ago when I was finance minister. We sanctioned the money for it. The first version was run in 2023, and then we ran one edition last year. We're running an edition this year, and now it'll make it an annual event. Part of marketing ourselves, part of bringing world-class speakers, part of highlighting and showing the kinds of things that we're doing in Tamil Nadu, including, for example, what I said about the defense tech in Madurai or the brilliant GCC work here, is to have a conference annually. Of course, other cities do big conferences like BTS. This is a start for us. But for all of you who are partners of the government and the people of Tamil Nadu in this industry, this is going to be our flagship event every year. As last year, we have some brilliant speakers from around the world, many countries, many big companies, CEOs, investors, founders who have sold their companies for hundreds of millions of dollars or $1 billion plus, unicorn founders in all aspects of technology, but also focusing on, of course, AI, but AI in governance, GovTech, AI in climate change management and disaster risk mitigation, which is very relevant to us. We have people from the Federal Emergency Management Association of the US. We have many speakers in the emerging area of space tech, the startups powering satellite launches and electric planes. So it's going to be a wonderful conference. I would encourage you all to register as delegates. We've dropped the price by more than half. I think now it's like 2,000 rupees, including GST for registration. Last year we did 12,000 visitors a day, but they were mostly students. This year I would like to see more professionals and more, we've changed the focus a bit. We have a lot of people who are on the cutting edge of various things. I'd like to see more professionals and young professionals there. We request your support, all the companies here. CII is going to be our partner. All the companies represented here are going to partner with us. I look forward to seeing many of you there. I thank you again for the invitation to be here, and I wish you all a wonderful conference. Thank you very much.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, now you know why we as a state succeed, because we have leaders like Dr. PTR who listen to every single word that is being said on the stage. Dr. PTR, I assure you I did not use ChatGPT to write the script. So that is the power of Tamil Nadu. Why do we succeed? Because we use technology to ensure inclusivity, to ensure equitable growth, ladies and gentlemen. And on that note, I now request Mr. A.R. Unnikrishnan, Vice Chairman, CII Tamil Nadu State Council and Managing Director, Glass and Glass Solutions, Singobin Private Limited, to present the vote of thanks. Ladies and gentlemen.
The Honorable Minister, dignitaries and colleagues on and off the dais, ladies and gentlemen. IT and digital is really transcended to many sectors, though it started